Okay, center of gravity range. Okay, in this module, what we're going to look at is we're going to define the center of gravity range of the aircraft. We're going to explain forward and aft center of gravity limits and how we can actually measure those to make sure the aircraft is going to fall within those safe limits. And then we're going to identify some situations which an aircraft type certificate data sheet may give you two types or two actual locations for where the center of gravity is going to fall, depending on how the aircraft is actually certified. Empty weight center of gravity range. The center of gravity range limits within which an aircraft must balance forward and aft. The Piper Seneca has an extended gear center of gravity range. In other words, as the gear goes up and down on the Piper Seneca, the center of gravity actually is going to move a little bit forward or a little bit aft, depending on whether the gear is up or down, just because of the location of the gear. The CG range for this particular aircraft, the Seneca, depending on the weight of the aircraft, as you notice, is the aircraft, well, let's look at the bottom, 2,780 pounds, which is relatively light, has a forward center of gravity range of 80.7 inches all the way back to 94.6. So we're looking at, give or take, we've got 14 inches for a CG range. Notice as it gets heavier, when we go to 3,400 pounds, we add some weight to the aircraft. Notice the center of gravity range moves back. So if I still maintained a center of gravity range of 80, let's say it was 81 inches, which would be fine at 2,780 pounds. But if I was at 3,500 pounds, all of a sudden, I have my CG range is too far forward. When I get to 4,000 pounds, notice it slips back again. So the heavier the airplane gets, the farther aft that center of gravity range moves. Notice the 94 or the aft range never changes from light to heavy, just the forward range. As it gets heavier, it starts to slip back. That's just for control at low speeds. And here we have our center of gravity range envelope, which goes ahead, that shows exactly what this chart showed. Now you can notice, and we can look and see here. Notice here is my envelope for my center of gravity range. We're going to find this chart would be in a pilot's operating handbook. Notice on the side here we've got the weight, and it continues to go up, 26, 27, 28. Notice as the weight goes up, notice that the center of gravity range starts to move back, okay? Notice that along the bottom, we've got almost 81 inches. So at 2,600 pounds, we're just shy of 81 inches. We're within the CG range. But as the weight goes up, once I reach 2,800 pounds, notice that center of gravity range is going to start to creep aft. And then once again, when I reach 3,400 pounds, it is slightly stronger now. It starts to again go aft. That center of gravity range continues to move back until I reach the maximum weight, which is just at 4,000 or just over 4,000 pounds. Then I cap out at the top weight. And so long as I keep my center of gravity within that envelope, I'm fine. I am okay to fly that airplane. But just be aware, as that aircraft gets heavier, the center of gravity range moves aft. And that's common for a lot of airplanes, not just that particular aircraft. Some aircraft, the center of gravity range, the CG range in an empty weight condition is more restrictive than the Piper Seneca. The Piper Seneca has a nice, almost 14 inches. When you get to helicopters, don't be surprised if you have a center of gravity range of about 2 inches forward and aft of that main rotor. Everything hinges. It's like a pendulum hanging off of that main rotor. That's where the center of gravity must maintain. If you start moving that center of gravity range too far forward or too far back, that helicopter is going to get really, really uncontrollable. Look at where that main rotor is on the helicopter. Look at everything that's underneath it. You've got your fuel under it, you've got your engines under it, you've got your passengers and your crew under it. Everything is under that main rotor on that aircraft, okay? Operating weight control. Operating weight control of the center of gravity, the operational CG limits of an aircraft, loaded and ready for flight. Some aircraft have more than one category. Know that. You could have some aircraft that are the utility category, and that's going to be different than the acrobatic category. Okay, so know that your center of gravity range for your particular aircraft you need to know what your aircraft is certified in so you know what center of gravity you're calculating that weight and balance for. And to review this module, we should be familiar with the center of gravity range. We need to be familiar with the type certificate data sheet, and we should be able to locate where that center of gravity range actually falls by using the type certificate data sheet. We should remember that as the aircraft maximum weight or as the aircraft gross weight increases, that center of gravity range is actually going to decrease. It's actually going to start to slide a little bit farther back from where it was when it is at a lighter weight. We get into helicopters. We start talking about the restricted range of the helicopter center of gravity range, significantly smaller than that we would find on a fixed-wing aircraft. You may find the center of gravity range on a helicopter is measured in inches, maybe in 2 inches to 4 inches. In a helicopter, we're also worried about a left and right and a forward and aft, whereas a fixed-wing aircraft, we're primarily concerned with a forward and aft center of gravity range. Remember that we discussed that aircraft can be categorized, be certificated a couple of different ways, and depending on how the aircraft is certificated, that's going to impact where that center of balance actually falls on the aircraft.